Part 122. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1211. Chapter 1211 Postmodern Science Fiction Style. You can't just grab people one by one and explain it, right? Suffering such a big loss, Zhang Bilian was deeply hit and depressed. She cried several times under the quilt in the dormitory, and gritted her teeth and wrote the debt to Xia Yingluo. Xia Yingluo was so badly criticized before. Now that the truth has been revealed, many people have turned to sympathize with her. Many people also said that the scene of her walking in the rainy alley was very meaningful and unforgettable. In a small area, she gathered some fans and spontaneously set up a forum and discussion group to follow her movements. Jin Linger smiled and said she was a blessing in disguise. Xia Yingluo was also in a good mood. In a blink of an eye, the date came for her date with Wei Lingnan. She dressed up beautifully and went happily. The location this time was the villa in Shanglin Nanyuan. The transfer procedures for the house that Wei Lingnan promised to give to her had been completed, and he invited her to take over the house and drink and watch the stars. The villa is beautiful. It can be seen that a lot of thought has been put into decorating it in a surreal science fiction style. The entire building has a perfect silver-gray streamlined shape, giving it a pleasing futuristic feel. Unknown decorations can be seen everywhere on the walls of the living room, in the corner of the dining room, and on the bedside of the bedroom. Some of them look like some kind of plants, and some look like monsters. "This villa is for you," Wei Lingnan said, and he mixed a cocktail from the bar and handed it to her. She took the wine glass and took a sip. It tasted very good. "Thank you," she said. Although she is the eldest daughter of the Li family, it is not difficult for her to buy such an expensive villa, but it can be seen that a lot of thought has been put into the decoration inside, and it is by no means an ordinary luxury house. Wei Lingnan smiled. "Cheers." The two of them drank a cocktail together, and a comfortable feeling of dizziness gradually crept into Xia Yingluo's mind. It's strange. She has a good drinking capacity since she was a child. Why does she get drunk so easily when she drinks with Wei Lingnan? While slightly tipsy, he took her to visit the villa. Stepping into the long and narrow corridor on the second floor, Xia Yingluo turned her head and saw a huge decorative painting embedded on the wall. The painting is a vast battlefield, with extremely low blood-colored clouds rolling and rolling, and endless Zerg species. Yes, Zerg species. Xia Yingluo can only find such adjectives to describe them. They look like the ones in science fiction movies. Alien reptilians are laying siege to a small group of... What is a small group? It's also very sci-fi and abstract, and it's hard to describe. Some of them look like humans, but they only look like humans. Part of their bodies turn into monsters, with sharp limbs and tail bones, while some are purely in monster form, with densely packed sharp teeth and cold, inorganic pupils. People are terrified. They were covered in blood as they fought against the endless hordes of bugs. The battlefield was full of insect corpses, but there were not many corpses of such monsters. It was obvious that even if they were at an absolute disadvantage in numbers, they were not at a disadvantage. The war scene was so shocking that Xia Yingluo was stunned. Wei Lingnan stayed by her side and looked at her expression. "Do you like it?" She was speechless. Something about this painting struck her heart hard, making her feel dizzy, and the blood all over her body was boiling. It was as if she wanted to rush to the battlefield and fight side by side with those monsters. As if fighting the enemy bravely. This feeling had never happened before, it came suddenly and without warning. It was so strange. Wei Lingnan stretched out his hand and slowly pointed it out to her. "These are the Skatana tribe." He was referring to the group of monsters that fought against the Zerg. "So, do they have names?" Xia Yingluo was dizzy even more, and she swayed before she managed to stand still. Tana tribe. This pronunciation was a bit awkward to pronounce. When Wei Lingnan looked into her eyes, she only felt something sound ringing in her ears, but it seemed like there was nothing. The strange, metallic resonance-like feeling when she first saw him came back. It was like a dreamy void, making her legs weak and almost falling to the ground. It seemed like 10,000 years had passed, and it seemed like just a short moment. The voice disappeared. Xia Yingluo looked pale and looked at Wei Lingnan. Just, what happened to me? Wei Lingnan did not answer her, and could not answer her. His little girl, has she forgotten even her local accent? How he longed for her to understand that strange resonance, and how much he hoped that she could respond to him with the same resonance, but for now, this was only a luxury hope. He didn't even dare to use too many local accents on her. The sonic resonance from the most advanced race in the universe might damage her health or even kill her. He turned his head and continued to point at the painting with his knuckled fingers. These warriors are all men, or males. In the Scatena tribe, females are very precious. She looked at him suspiciously. Everything about him tonight was strange. Without her needing to respond, he continued, males fight to protect females. I am the guardian, and I fight for Aluo. Some lonely voices echoed in the air. If he loses her, his life will also be lost. It loses its meaning. Xia Yingluo finally realized something was wrong. The man in front of her was telling her this sci-fi war scene as a real story. How can this be? Where in the world did the Scatena tribe come from? Aliens. Xia Yingluo felt that she was drunk and had auditory hallucinations. Or was it because he was drunk that he said these nonsense? She stared at Wei Lingnan as if she had seen a ghost. She wanted to ask him if he was drunk. Seeing his sober and calm appearance, she began to wonder if he was sick or not. Could it be because he missed that Aluo too much? Are you insane? Or maybe Aluo didn't exist in the first place and was just a fictional character. This also explains why he keeps pestering her. Perhaps, he just wants to find an incarnation of Aluo in the real world. And she was unlucky enough to be favored by him. Wei Lingnan. She sighed and said cautiously, do you think you are from Scatena? It's not the Scatena people, it's the Scatena tribe. Wei Lingnan corrected her. Human? It's just a narrow way of talking about human beings. There are thousands of races in the universe, far beyond human imagination. Well, he is really very ill. I know a psychiatrist. She murmured, I'll take you to see him another day. He looked down at her with an unpredictable expression. She felt a little guilty when he saw her. Under the dim light, his shadow stretched very long on the corridor wall, as if it wanted to merge with the monster in the mural. In a daze, she had an illusion, as if the Scatena planet he was talking about really existed, and he had really protected a certain girl for who knows how many years. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1212. Chapter 1212 Audition. It's very quiet all around. A shooting star streaked across the skylight, leaving a long tail. Xia Yingluo finally thought of an excuse to ease the embarrassment and said, how about we go out and look at the stars? Didn't you say there is a star Scatena? Can you just show me where it is? Wei Lingnan's expression finally softened, and he took her to the second-floor terrace. The terrace has a cool breeze on a summer night. He opened another bottle of wine and poured half a glass for her and half a glass for himself. The two of them were drinking wine while sitting on a lounge chair. He raised his head and looked at the starry sky, pointing to a certain place in the brilliant night sky. It's right there. Star Scatena is 10 times larger than the Earth, and 10 times more desolate. Survival. It is a dark purple planet that breeds the most warlike race in the universe, making all other races fear it. Xia Yingluo looked hard for a long time. Liar, I can't see anything. Where he pointed, there was only a void. Wei Lingnan lowered his eyes and slowly took a sip of wine. It exploded. Xia Yingluo didn't expect such an answer. She was stunned for a moment before snorting again, "Liar, just make it up." He drank a lot of wine and said nothing. Xia Yingluo also drank one drink after another. Her petite body curled up comfortably on the lounge chair, looking up at the black hole he just pointed at. For some reason, that black hole seemed to have magic power, deeply attracting her, fascinating her, and confusing her at the same time. "How did it explode?" she asked after a long while. "Want to know? Remember for yourself." "What?" "Aluo, don't pretend to be stupid. You know the cause of the explosion. Don't stay out of it like an innocent person." He suddenly became unhappy, put down the wine glass in his hand, turned over and looked down at her on the recliner. "It was you who chose it in the first place. I am a guardian. It was you who brought me out of the wild plateau. It was you who asked me to follow you to the death. Now, how can you forget everything and let me bear so many memories and so many bitter consequences alone? Aluo, you. Don't be too cruel." She couldn't understand what he was saying, and was frightened by his appearance, and her body became slightly stiff. Wei Lingnan was like a ferocious beast staring at its prey, with a gaze that wanted to eat her alive. Her mouth was dry. I'm not." "You are," Wei Lingnan interrupted her, "you are Aluo. I became your guardian, watching you grow up little by little from a little girl who couldn't walk steadily, and watching you being bullied by your sisters. I tried my best to become stronger and help you fight one after another. Every time I was injured, you would cry and use your hard-earned energy to heal my wounds. They all laughed at you and said you were stupid. Why are you so nice to a humble creature like the guardian? Just be cruel to them and tell me that one day you will climb to the highest position so that no one will dare to laugh at me anymore. Aluo, forget all this. Already." She looked at him in panic, wondering if it was because she had drunk too much wine. Her head was buzzing. After a long time, she struggled to say, "What is the highest position? I'm so bored. What I want to do most in my life is to eat and die and wait for death. Anyone who believes that I want to climb to a high position is a fool." He looked down at her. She was very different now from that time, and her heartless look had never changed. His eyes narrowed dangerously, trying to hurt her, but she had already closed her eyes. Her long and curly eyelashes cast a faint shadow under the starlight, and she fell into a peaceful sleep. Looking at her defenseless sleeping face, his expression gradually softened. He carried her into the bedroom, kissed her gently, and covered her with the quilt. The next day, she woke up with a splitting headache. Thinking about what happened last night, she just felt like it was a dream. What's Katana? Protector? Planet explosion? Her dreams were getting more and more bizarre. Opening the door, she saw that the huge painting was still inlaid in the corridor on the second floor. She stared at it for a long time, and finally attributed everything to the hallucination caused by drinking and appreciating the painting. Wei Lingnan did not appear. Probably left first. Xia Yingluo washed and changed her clothes, returned to the training camp alone, and devoted herself to intense practice. The dean of students came to her and told her that in order to make up for the movie incident, the school had secured a very good audition opportunity for her, to audition for a female role in a big-budget movie. The killer has a lot of fighting scenes, which is very suitable for a girl like her who has solid basic skills and a strong aura. Xia Yingluo debated for a long time whether to go or not. The dean stared at her. "Do you dare to be more pretentious? It took a lot of effort to get you an audition opportunity. Do you know how many people want this role? Don't go. If you don't go, you won't be able to make your debut in the training camp." Xia Yingluo had a headache and couldn't help but criticize the emperor's training camp for being overbearing and perverted. She deserved that Pei Ziyan couldn't get a wife. Well, it seems to be too far away. However, as the Romans do, since you have entered this perverted training camp, you can only obey the camp's rules. Wasn't she just going for an audition? The crew didn't say that she was required. At worst, she tried it deliberately and escaped happily. After making up her mind, Xia Yingluo went to the audition without any psychological pressure. The audition took place in the building of Emperor Pictures, which turned out to be a film produced by our own company. Big production, big director, from the male and female protagonists to the second, third, and fourth supporting roles, all the stars have been finalized. There are still a few less important roles, such as the killer, and the audition mode has been started directly to recruit from the industry. There were more than a dozen people who got audition invitations alone. Xia Yingluo walked into the lounge outside the audition room and saw many people already there. Several actors waiting for the audition raised their heads to glance at her, then lowered their heads to mind their own business. Xia Yingluo had no intention of passing the test today. She only put on light makeup, tied her long fluffy hair into a ponytail, and wore a pair of old and cheap casual clothes. She was inconspicuous among a group of actresses competing for beauty. Those who knew that she was here for the audition, but those who didn't thought she was the actor's assistant. She found an inconspicuous corner to sit down, took out her mobile phone and played a game. Beside her sat a young actress. Her face with delicate makeup looked familiar. She had probably appeared on the screen several times. The actress glanced at Xia Yingluo. "Hello, I'm Yufei, are you here for the audition too?" "Hello, I'm Xia Yingluo." Xia Yingluo had to put away her phone and smiled back at the other party. "Yes, it's really lively here. I don't know how long it will take." Yufei also smiled. "I haven't seen you before. Which company do you work for?" "I haven't debuted yet," Xia Yingluo said without hesitation. "In the Emperor training camp, our teaching director was very cruel. He insisted on me auditioning or he wouldn't let me graduate. In fact, I don't really like acting." End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 1213. Chapter 1213. Top students in the training camp. Yufei was relieved when she heard that she was a trainee. "I heard that this is the tradition of the Emperor's training camp and it is also a benefit," she explained to Xia Yingluo. "Every time the Emperor's own films recruit external audition roles, 2 positions will be reserved for the Emperor's training camp. They are unbeatable. We outside actors are actually very envious of you." This is nothing more than a polite comment. How can a trainee who has never debuted compete with formal actors like them? Over the years, roles that have been taken away from regular actors have been small probability events that can be ignored. You are still young, and you will have many opportunities in the future. Yufei directly regarded Xia Yingluo as a loser and pretended to comfort her. "Those who can be recommended by the training camp are all top students. You are still very good." Yes, Xia Yingluo also faked a smile. "I'm just going to go through the motions, while you're busy, I'll play some games." Speaking, he took out his mobile phone again. They hadn't been playing for long when Yufei asked, "Who are those people over there? What Emperor training camp are they talking about? They must all be your classmates, but for every audition, there are only 2 in the training camp. Quota, why do they come so many?" Xia Yingluo looked up. When the dean asked her to come, he didn't tell her that there would be other trainees coming, and she was a little curious. Unexpectedly, this didn't matter, but I saw an enemy Zhang Bilian. At this time, Zhang Bilian had been carefully dressed up, from her hairstyle to her clothes. Her tight-fitting low-waisted hot pants and navel-bearing top looked quite handsome and charming. It was rare to see her dressed like this on weekdays, probably because of the Fits the Killer theme. Beside her were Zhu Zhu and Zhang Qiang, just like her managers and assistants, who looked very imposing. Zhang Bilian also saw Xia Yingluo, walked over and greeted her condescendingly. What a coincidence. Xia Yingluo was too lazy to pay attention to her and lowered her head to play the game again. Zhang Bilian had a bad impression of Xia Yingluo after she suffered many losses at the hands of her. She said to her in front of a room full of people, "Who is so capable that he passed up Zhu Zhu's audition spot? It turns out that it's you. Then I'm not surprised. After all, you have a backer outside, compared to our Zhu Zhu who doesn't even have a boyfriend." The implications of these words were obvious. Several people nearby had already looked this way, and their strange eyes lingered on Xia Yingluo. Unexpectedly, this girl dressed so plainly is actually a money lender? Real or fake? For a moment, everyone looked at her with a hint of subtle interest and disdain. Zhang Bilian was very satisfied with the effect of her words. For nearly a year in the training camp, she had quietly blackmailed Xia Yingluo and ruined Xia Yingluo's reputation. Otherwise, if she is not as beautiful as Xia Yingluo and her singing and dancing performances are not as good as Xia Yingluo's, how could she become the most popular among the boys in the training camp? In the past, Xia Yingluo didn't argue with her because she didn't want those boys to bother her. Moreover, with the nourishment of Zhao Yuxuan's love, she was content with what she had and was very tolerant of people and things. But things are different now. Ever since Zhao Yuxuan broke up with her to marry Bai Fumei and she was entangled by Wei Lingnan, a lunatic, her temper has become very bad. She raised her eyes and looked at Zhang Bilian and said, "Reject it? What gossip are you listening to? The dean took the initiative to find me, but he didn't tell me anything about Zhu Zhu. I'm surprised. Well, last time I took the monthly exam, I ranked first in total scores, far behind you, who ranked second. In the past year since I entered school, except for one time when I was ill and ranked second, I have ranked first every other time. If I am not qualified to be recommended based on my strength, then who is qualified? Is it Zhu Zhu? Are you helping her or hacking her?" Zhang Bilian was choked. She didn't expect that her words would lead to so many words from Xia Yingluo, and her face couldn't help but look ugly. Seeing this, Zhang Qiang on the side quickly protected the flower, frowned and said, "Xia Yingluo, why are you so aggressive? You don't have any tenderness and reserve of a girl. What do you look like?" Xia Yingluo smiled half-heartedly, "I'm discussing a problem with Zhang Bilian, why do you call it aggressive? I don't understand. The trainee with the highest overall score has to go through the back door to get the recommendation. Does anyone believe this rumor?" Several actors on the side couldn't help but laugh inwardly, secretly praising this little girl for her sharp tongue. Originally they didn't know that Xia Yingluo had such strength, but now that they know that she is the top scorer in the Emperor's training camp, they can't help but look at her with a different eye. The Emperor's training camp is the best in the industry. At the artist training base, the top scorer in all previous years, that is, the chief, every one of them has become very popular after their debut, and they will become great in time. While admiring her, they were also a little more wary of Xia Yingluo. She might be a strong rival for this audition. However, Zhang Qiang was still unaware. What are you so proud of? Who doesn't know that the most powerful girl in our training camp is Bai Lian? You just get lucky every time. If you don't believe me, just wait and see, you will be exposed in the audition this time. Definitely not a choice. Xia Yingluo is unhappy. Why is she lucky to be ranked first? It's not certain whether I can choose him or not. Zhang Bilian definitely can't be chosen, she smiled, showing her fine white teeth, with very bad intentions, because not only does she have poor strength, but she also has bad luck. Ah! How can you curse people like this? Fortunately, we are in the same training camp. Zhang Bilian couldn't help it. I'm sorry, I'm just outspoken, Xia Yingluo said nonchalantly. Anyway, Jang Bilian had already slandered her in public for being a benefactor, so what if she gave her a few small jabs? Bilian, don't be the same as her, Zuzu said on the side, just let her be proud for a while, and she will cry when the audition results come out. Although Xia Yingluo just said with good reason that she did not steal, she had a quota, but Zuzu still firmly believed that she was squeezed out by Xia Yingluo. When selecting audit Iones this time, Jang Bilian promised Zuzu to fight for her, and the teaching director also promised that they would consider it, but the final spot was given to Xia Yingluo. How can Zuzu not hold grudges? Our sister Bilian is the best, Zuzu said loudly to Xia Yingluo, she will definitely perform better than you this time. The so-called loser does not lose the battle, that's about it. Anyway, the audition is a matter behind closed doors for a few directors, and no other candidates can see it. After they come out, who is better than the other is not just a matter of two people's lips. Thing. Unless one of them can get this role, it will be indisputably good. But can Xia Yingluo get this role? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 1214. Chapter 1214, So Lucky. Very hanging. No matter how outstanding a trainee is, he is still a trainee, and he still has many inherent disadvantages compared to serious actors. That's why Zuzu dared to say these words without restraint. Xia Yingluo heard this harshly. Originally, she didn't intend to compete for this role, but after being so provoked by them, she started to compete for it. This is a gangster movie. It can be said that she grew up in a gangster. Isn't it easy to play a female killer in a gangster? She has several killer sister friends, and if she just guesses a little bit, she will be ready in both physical and mental form. With a competitive spirit, Xia Yingluo smiled, then I will take this role and show it to you, so that you can convince yourself of the gap. Jang Bilian also smiled, with disdain in her eyes, take it? What a big statement. Where do you put so many seniors? Sure enough, several actors present looked at Xia Yingluo with unkind eyes. The little girl clearly didn't take them seriously. Even if he is the emperor's new star in the future, that is still a matter of the future. It is not his turn to be arrogant now. Xia Yingluo didn't care, and said, a soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good soldier. Everyone is here for this role. No one should pretend to be aloof. If you feel that you have no chance to quit directly, why bother attending the audition? Don't you dare to fight or grab. What you said is very reasonable. Yu Fei next to her was speechless. Hey, little girl, who just said you were just going to go through the motions? A group of people were waiting to be called for the audition in a tense atmosphere. Actors came in and came out one after another. Some people stayed in the audition room for a long time, and some stayed for a short time. When they came out, they had different expressions, some were calm, some were lost, and some were overjoyed but barely concealed. About 7 or 8 people were called, and Xia Yingluo was called. Xia Yingluo walked in and saw a very empty room. There were 3 people sitting on the long table in the middle, 2 men and 1 woman. They were probably the person in charge of this casting. She quickly glanced at their nameplates. One of the middle-aged men was actor and deputy director Zhang Jianwen, a woman in her 30s was production representative Zhou Lingli, and a young man was screenwriter Lu Kai. Seeing her come in, one of the actors and assistant directors, Zhang Jianwen, looked satisfied. This girl is very beautiful, the kind of beauty that impresses people. If she had some acting skills, the character would be outstanding. Zhou Lingli and Lu Kai were not very satisfied. She was too poorly dressed. How could such a young trainee who didn't even know how to style herself perform well? I'm afraid I haven't even touched the threshold of the entertainment industry yet. Why are you dressed so casually? Production representative Zhou Lingli took the lead in attacking. Ordinary audition actors would be a little nervous when they see the caster dissatisfied, but Xia Yingluo smiled brightly and thought of her words in the blink of an eye, I'm here to play a killer, not a vase. In my understanding, this role is not you need to rely on fancy clothes to attract attention, but also rely on aura and acting skills, so I think it is more appropriate to dress like this. After saying this, the actor's assistant director Zhang Jianwen nodded secretly. Screenwriter Lu Kai continued to make things difficult. Just now, some candidate actors expressed the same understanding as you, but they know how to dress themselves handsomely and neatly. What about you? What is the difference between this dress and the ant buying vegetables in the vegetable market? Xia Yingluo wanted to complain, brother, are you still writing a gangster killer movie at your level? Can I get some snacks? Resisting the urge to roll her eyes, she asked Lu Kai patiently, a handsome and fierce girl and a market lady are standing in front of you. Who will you be more wary of? Several people reacted. Zhang Jianwen was the first to say, yes, of course I will be more wary of handsome and sharp people, and killers want to take advantage of people to approach the target unprepared. The more inconspicuous they are, the better. Little girl, you are very good at figuring things out. Character. Xia Yingluo smiled, what's the point of trying to figure this out? This was what they told her when she had afternoon tea with her killers on weekdays. They asked her to improvise the look of a killer. The so-called improvisation means that there is no planned script or movement, and nothing else. It is all based on personal improvisation. Xia Yingluo closed her eyes slightly, and when she opened them again, she was already immersed in the character. At this time, she seemed no different from the one who had just walked into the examination room. She was so ordinary, just like any female student who passed by others on the street every Monday morning. However, just before everyone at the moment when she was completely unprepared, she took action as quickly as lightning, as if the mission target was hidden in the air passing by. Draw the sword and kill cleanly. The air seemed to freeze at this moment, and everyone held their breath. Even though she actually held nothing in her hands, at that moment, the people in charge felt the suffocation of the sharp blade across their necks. They seemed to see a ghost in the morning mist, blending into the bustling crowd. After that moment of murderous intent, everything returned to calm, leaving no trace like flowers blooming and falling. The girl dressed in ordinary clothes put her hands in her trouser pockets and slowly walked away. In the room, the shock left by the director and others had not disappeared. It was not until Xia Yingluo said, I'm done performing that they took a long breath and recovered from the suffocating feeling. Come. It's really wonderful. Her performance was like an ancient mime, without the use of any props or lines, making people immersed in the scene and making people forget that she was an actor. At that moment, everyone regarded her as a real killer. If I hadn't known your identity. Producer Zhou Lingli looked at her with a sigh, I would have suspected that you are a real killer. Thank you for the compliment, Xia Yingluo smiled. In fact, although her acting skills are good, they are not so good. Her amazing performance is all due to her family background. After all, there are a few people in the world who can interact with a large number of people in the world since they were young. The best assassination experts hang out together and listen to their bragging and telling stories every day. She is the daughter of the Phoenix, and she is so lucky that she can meet such a suitable role whenever she goes out for an audition. The producer, director, and screenwriter looked at each other. The director cleared his throat and said, come to my place tomorrow to pick up the script. I'll start filming in 4 days. Is there any problem? She smiled again, thanked the directors again, and left the audition room. Her audition didn't take long, only 5 or 6 minutes. When she came out, the actors waiting outside raised their heads, trying to find any clues about success or failure from her face. Zhang Billian's people were more direct. Zuzu sneered, did you fail? You still want to get a role like this? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1215. Chapter 1215, Making a Scene on the Set. That's right, another follower also said, don't run back to the dormitory and cry secretly later. A sarcastic smile appeared on Xia Yingluo's lips. Failure? Sorry, I don't know how to write the word failure at all. In fact, the director originally wanted to tell you to leave directly, but they thought it was not polite, so they decided to keep letting you go in for auditions. What she said made everyone feel frightened. What? The director wants them to disperse immediately? So, they are satisfied with the results of Xia Yingluo's audition? Others have no chance? All kinds of surprised and uncertain glances fell on Xia Yingluo's face. Zhang Bilian was also shocked. No way, this stinky girl actually got the role? No. Impossible, she must have deceived them in order to make them give up hope and not audition properly, thus reducing their competitiveness. I won't be fooled by you, Zhang Bilian said calmly. Xia Yingluo, don't talk too much, or be careful about being slapped in the face when the casting results come out. Xia Yingluo looked at her mockingly and walked out. She was very confident in the result of this casting, but when she went to the director to get the script the next day, the director said, I'm sorry, Miss Xia, the candidate for this role has changed, so your trip was in vain. She was slightly startled before she realized that the role had been given to someone else. Can't help but feel a little disappointed. After all, she performed so well in the audition. Is there anyone who is more perfect than her? Can you tell me who the final winner is, she said, so that I can be convinced that I lost. Zhang Bilian said the director. Xia Yingluo was surprised now. Although Zhang Bilian was also a top student in the training camp, her style was more soft and soft. She may not be suitable for playing a sharp type like a killer. Moreover, she would definitely not be able to compare with herself who has been trained since she was a child. Is there a shady secret behind it? She looked at the director. I know Zhang Bilian's level, why did I just use her? I'm not convinced by this result. The director frowned. Ms. Xia, this is a matter of two-way choice. I have the right to decide which person to use. I don't need to explain it to you, right? It's normal to fail in the audition. Please correct your mentality and go back. Xia Yingluo was very angry. The director's answer was obviously perfunctory. What happened? She returned to the training camp gloomily. When she entered the school gate, she met Zhang Bilian who was getting ready to go out. Seeing her, Zhang Bilian's face burst into a winner's smile. Xia Yingluo, what a coincidence. The person who comes is not good. Xia Yingluo had a cold face and didn't want to talk to her, so she walked directly into the school gate. Zhang Bilian raised her voice and said, I got the killer role, and I'm about to go out with Zuzu and the others to celebrate. You haven't had lunch yet, do you want to come with us? Xia Yingluo suddenly turned around. A role won through dark means, what's there to show off? How do you say that? Zuzu took the lead and charged into battle for Zhang Bilian. Our sister Bilian got the role based on her strength. Aren't you just jealous? If you are not convinced, go and get it. Haha, yesterday you said you were certain. It's really hilarious that he got this role to show us. Several other people surrounding Zhang Bilian also looked at her with sneers. Xia Yingluo became even more depressed, but the characters were all other people's, and there was no point in arguing at this time. It was just humiliating herself. She turned around and walked neatly into the school. Looking at her back, Zhang Bilian felt relieved, and most of the anger that had been held in her heart for a long time was dissipated. In fact, she was also surprised that the role of the killer fell to her. Her audition performance was not very good, and she knew it well. Why did the crew choose her when so many people didn't choose it? She did not dare to ask the director about this issue for fear of getting an unpleasant reply. Let's go and eat. Jong Billion no longer thinks about this problem. She will make peace with it as it comes. The role she has got is the most real thing. She showed a dignified smile and greeted her followers. She didn't notice that there was a low-key luxury car parked not far from the school gate, with a well-dressed woman in the back seat. Is that Jong Billion? The woman looked out the car window, her voice was beautiful and reserved. Yes, the driver wearing white gloves said, Miss Jinxiu. According to the investigation, the relationship between Jong Billion and Xia Yingluo is very bad. If you want to deal with Xia Yingluo, just use Jong Billion. There is no need to go into battle in person and degrade yourself. Gu Jingxiu stretched out her hand gracefully, rubbed her forehead, and said, Okay, let's drive. Go to the beauty salon early to get today's treatment. All these messy things are giving me a headache. What outsiders didn't know was that the crew was secretly instructed to. She was the one who replaced Xia Yingluo and replaced her with Jong Billion. She held the director's control in her hand. The director didn't have to fight to the death with the daughter of the Gu family for a small role, so he complied with her wishes. As for Xia Yingluo, why should we care about the feelings of a young trainee? Xia Yingluo was still congratulating herself on her good luck yesterday, but today she feels particularly unlucky. The aura of the Phoenix daughter who has been trying everything since she was a child seems to be fading. Ever since she went out to participate in the training, no, to be precise, since that night in the casino. After that, she began to have bad luck for no apparent reason. Has it been so long since she came out that God has forgotten whose child she is? She returned to the dormitory sadly and rolled around on the bed covered with quilt. When Jin Linger came in, she saw Xia Yingluo wrapped herself up like a cicada. Auntie, what's wrong with you? She went to take off the quilt angrily. It's spread throughout the training camp that the person who got the audition role this time is Jong Billion, and her lackeys all say that she is the real chief, and you mocked me by saying that being the best in the monthly exams is my real strength. How could you be hiding here and sleeping? What can I do if I don't sleep? Xia Yingluo was dying and had no ambition. Go and argue with them. That won't save the overall situation. It will only make you look stingy. Jin Linger was unwilling to give in. Then let's forget it. I don't believe she stole the role from you based on her ability. I don't believe it either. Xia Yingluo rolled over on the bed a few more times. I'm so sad, I want to sleep. Jin Linger glared at her with hatred. Forget it if you sleep to death. She couldn't just sit idly by when her best friend was unhappy. Jin Linger was anxious for a few days and decided to use the stupidest way to fight the injustice, causing a scene on the set. The filming set is located in a famous film and television city on the outskirts of the city. Jin Linger was dressed fashionably, and as a trainee herself, she naturally exuded the aura of an insider. She blended in without any effort and watched the opening ceremony among the crowd. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1216. Chapter 1216. What a great majesty! It is an unwritten rule in the industry that before every film starts, one must burn incense and worship God, praying for everything to go well. The producer and director were leading the crowd to prepare to worship, when they suddenly heard a girl's voice. Wait a minute. It is unlucky to interrupt the booting ceremony. Everyone looked unhappy and looked at the source of the sound. I saw Jin Linger standing alone a few steps away from everyone, sneering, "Are you worshipping God now? Are you guilty?" Some people use unfair means to operate in secret and use the back door to grab roles. Do you still want to play such a scene? Fire. Bah. This is even more unlucky to say. Which of the most related households this year? It was originally an unspoken rule in the industry, but I didn't expect that some unscrupulous people would specifically bring it up online. Isn't this an obvious way to find trouble? Who are you? An assistant director couldn't help it. Go away, security guard. Soon the security guards came and wanted to drag Jin Linger out. Jin Linger's arm was pulled by someone, but she struggled and refused to leave. She shouted unconvincingly, "You will be in bad luck. This drama has lost all its money. If you want to blame Jang Billion, she was the one who robbed people. The character brings bad luck." Among the group of actors, Jang Billion's face looked ugly. As early as the moment Jin Linger appeared, she knew that something bad was going to happen and couldn't help but shrink back into the crowd, pretending not to recognize Jin Linger. Unexpectedly, Jin Linger still pulled herself out. Although she had nothing to do with disrupting the opening ceremony, she knew how superstitious the people in the crew were. It was impossible to protect the producers, directors, and even celebrities. Yes, don't blame her for these twists and turns. As expected, many people were already looking at her with unkind expressions. The female lead in this drama is the best actress of the last Nebula Festival. She has a very high status. She values this drama very much when her career is at its peak. Now that the opening ceremony is so unlucky, how can she feel comfortable? You're just a small character, how come you get into such trouble? You really treat yourself like a dish, she taunted in a low voice. She didn't know who she was scolding. People nearby heard it and even laughed in apology. Calm down, Sister Chi, you are so lucky, why do you need to worry about little evil spirits? It's just a farce of a few little people. You don't need to be angry. Your skin is so well maintained, but you are much more precious than all of them put together. Angry people tend to get fine lines, so it's not worth it, she even coaxed and lied, which made Sister Chi's face look better. Jang Billion was uneasy and apologized to her in a low voice, "I'm sorry, Sister Chi." Sister Nha stood away in disgust, without even looking at Jang Billion, and said to her assistant, "You stand over there and help me block the bad luck." She directly regarded Jang Billion as a scourge. Jang Billion was humiliated and wronged. She felt that she had never been so embarrassed in her life. Seeing the gloating eyes around her, she wanted to dig out a crack in the ground and crawl down. Jin Linger, she remembered, she must make Jin Linger look good. Over there, Jin Linger was dragged out by two strong security guards. While struggling, she continued to shout, "This drama of yours is unlucky. What's wrong? Why don't people talk about it anymore? I wish you a bad reputation." The attendance rate has been falling all the way. She knew that she had no power and it was impossible to help Xia Yingluo regain her role on her own, so she simply came to the set to make a fuss, disgusting people and venting her anger on her good sisters. "That's fine." The security guard threw her to the ground and said, "Get away," and walked away. Jin Linger fell several meters away in embarrassment. Everything in her bag was scattered, and even her bones were falling apart. She fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time, and she didn't forget to curse, "The crew is operating behind closed doors. I greet your whole family." After cursing, she held her waist and moaned for a long time, "Oh, my old waist, you're so cruel. If my waist is broken, let's see what you can do to compensate me. Ouch, it hurts me so much." Getting up painfully, Len Buting almost bumped into an expressionless face. The face was extremely close to hers, and the tip of his nose almost touched the tip of hers. She was so frightened that she screamed and fell back to the ground. This time, the pain was so painful that tears came out. "Who are you? You bastard," she scolded aggrievedly, "didn't you see such a big ant like me on the ground? How can I walk and bump into me like this? Huh? He fell to me." The other party does not speak. Jin Linger cursed for a long time before she felt something was wrong. She raised her head and saw that the other party was still standing there, his eyebrows unmoved, and he was still looking at her expressionlessly. It was a man in a suit, tall as a bamboo, about 30 years old, with a solemn look on his stern face. When he looked down at her, there was a faint sense of oppression. For some reason, Jinlinger suddenly felt guilty. However, fearless, she quickly suppressed the guilty feeling and glared at the man fiercely. "What are you looking at? You don't even know how to help me? You hit someone, do you understand?" Beside the man, the accompanying assistant couldn't help scolding her. "Why are you talking to Mr. Du?" The tall man raised his hand slightly to stop the assistant's scolding. Jinlinger looked at them and sneered, "What Mr. Du? I've never heard of it." It's so majestic. She forgot that she was still lying on the ground in disgrace at this time, with her rusty blonde short hair messy, like a bad girl. The man remained calm and stretched out his hand to her. She was stunned for a moment, and then she realized that the other person was trying to pull her up, so she was not polite and held his hand. His hands were dry and strong, with thin calluses on his knuckles, which made her feel strange. She quickly suppressed the strangeness, stood upright, and glared at him fiercely. "Mr. Du, Sister Chi sent a message to ask if you have arrived." "Let's go in," the assistant beside him said. The man put aside the golden bell and walked towards the film and television city. "Hey, stop," Jinlinger couldn't help but call him. The man really stopped and glanced at her, calmly and unsurprised. Jinlinger suddenly felt irritable and didn't know why she wanted to stop him. It was probably his attitude of not taking her seriously that angered her. In the past few days, she had been fighting for the sake of her good sister Xia Yingluo. "I've had enough of all kinds of anger. What are you looking at?" "I've never seen a beautiful woman," she said harshly. The assistant next to the man was unhappy again. "What are you talking about? We, Mr. Du, have seen a lot of beauties, but we have never seen a beauty like you who fell into mud. You don't even look at yourself in the mirror." Jinlinger was extremely angry, all the grievances in her heart welled up, and she glared at him. "Rich people are bastards, even rich people's lackeys are such bastards. None of you are good." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1217. Chapter 1217. Xia Yingluo, whom I haven't seen for many years. The man who was as tall as a bamboo finally spoke. "What's wrong with you?" Jinlinger was stunned when he asked, "What's wrong?" The man just looked at her quietly. The assistant on the side must have been accustomed to his boss's speaking style, so he quickly acted as a translator. "Mr. Du asked you what happened. I saw you being thrown out from all the way, and you yelled and scolded me for a long time. Sister Chi and the crew, did I offend you?" When he got out of the car with Mr. Du, he saw clearly that it was his crew who threw her out. Only then did Jinlinger react. "Sister Chi's crew? So, you and that crew are the same? No wonder. Who are you?" she asked Mr. Du in the last sentence. "I am Du Zhang," the man said briefly. "Du Zhang?" Jinlinger reacted for a while, then suddenly opened her eyes. "Are you Du Zhang?" Du Zhang, the president of Dushi Culture Company. Most girls her age love gossip, especially about major companies in the entertainment industry. As everyone knows, although this Du family is not as big as Emperor and Tianyi, it is not small in scale and ranks high in the industry. The most important thing is that the crew where she caused trouble today has Du Shi's shares in it. "Yes," Du Zhang said. "Now can you tell me what happened?" Emperor rarely collaborates with Du Shi. This time, Du Shi's leading actress Yang Menqi was asked to star in a new play, so both parties co-produced it. Yang Menqi and Du Zheng have a good personal relationship. When they heard that Du Zheng was talking nearby today, they invited him to visit the class. Unexpectedly, when Du Zheng got out of the car, he saw the girl in front of him being thrown out in a mess. Looking at her indignant look, Was she bullied by the crew? Jin Linger looked at him suspiciously. She now had a very bad impression of these powerful people, but things were already so bad anyway. It couldn't get any worse, so she just decided to be a doctor and risk everything. Said, "Mr. Do you know that your crew has an inside story on the casting? That Jong Billion is so virtuous and capable that she shamelessly got the role instead of Ying Luo, who had done so well in the audition. Can this really be a good show? No wonder she just criticized the movie for its poor box office performance." However, Du Zheng is more concerned about the name she mentioned, Ying Luo. "Yes, Xia Ying Luo," Jin Linger asked as soon as she looked at him, and introduced her good sister to him in a clean and jealous manner. "Our Ying Luo is outstanding, she is the best trainee of the emperor. Every exam the chief executive who won the first place. She looked great as a killer. It is said that the director at the audition was shocked. Mr. Du, please give her a chance. Please, if she is allowed to film, this film will definitely be a big hit." Selling. The assistant on the side twitched a little when he heard this. "Miss, are you making a mistake? The lead female lead in this film is obviously Sister Chi, so what does it matter if she plays a small role or not?" Du Zheng seemed to be very interested. "Do you have a photo of Xia Ying Luo? Show it to me." "Ah. Oh. Yes, yes." Jin Linger was very happy when she saw something was going on. She quickly picked up her mobile phone from the items scattered on the floor, and after a few seconds, she found a photo of herself and Xia Ying Luo. "Look, this is Xia Ying Luo. She is so beautiful, even more beautiful in person. She will definitely become a big star in the future." The two girls in the photo are smiling brightly. Wearing a hoodie, Xia Ying Luo pounced on the girl in front of her like a little bear. On the bulletin board behind her were a few big words: "Welcome to the Emperor Training Camp Freshman," and the cherry blossoms were blooming brightly. He was slightly absent-minded. Jin Linger looked at him pleadingly. "Mr. Du, can you please give her a beating?" He looked away from the photo and turned to look at Jin Linger. The girl in front of him had an eager look and a grey face, but in his eyes, it was more beautiful than the flowery photo. How many pairs of good sisters are really good sisters in the world? She spared no effort to help Xia Ying Luo behind the scenes. Did Xia Ying Luo know? Go back and wait for news. He turned around and left. "Mr. Du? Mr. Du, hello, hello." Jin Linger wasn't sure what he meant, and when she called him again, he didn't stop at all, as if she hadn't heard him, and drifted away. "Tch, who is he?" she muttered in a low voice, feeling a little disappointed and a little worried. Would he really help her seek justice? It would be great if Ying Luo could star in that drama. The film and television city. The summer sun shines on the retro street scene. Du Zheng's tall figure walked through it step by step. Beside him, the assistant asked him in confusion, "Mr. Du, do you really want to help that girl?" Du Zheng said, "Yes. Send someone to find out what's going on, get rid of Jong Billion, and return the character to Xia Ying Luo. Remember to do it without anyone noticing, and don't let anyone find out that I sent someone to do it." "Yes," the assistant responded respectfully, wondering in his heart, could it be that his master, who has always been abstinent, fell in love with Xia Ying Luo? Or is it Golden Bell? However, it is not easy to ask this kind of question. I can only keep it in my heart. He didn't know that Du Zheng recognized who Xia Ying Luo was the first time he saw the photo. The sister of his close friend Li Xiaowai, Xia Ying Luo, whom he has not seen for many years. "The last time I saw her, she was still a little girl of 11 or 12 years old, wearing a pure white princess dress, covering his eyes from behind, laughing like a silver bell, asking him to guess who she was. Most of the children in the Li family are lively, which makes him, who is accustomed to rules, very uncomfortable. Xiao Hui scolded her for being young and old, so she would bend her beautiful eyes and secretly make faces. In a blink of an eye, it was so big. The little princess has also reached the age of leaving home to gain experience, but unexpectedly she came to China. Du Zheng generally knew the rules of the Li family's training. He was not allowed to reveal his identity or contact relatives and friends. However, such trials were mainly to defeat heirs like Xiaowei or other heirs who would take on big responsibilities in the future. As for little Princess Yingluo, if he remembered correctly, her childhood wish was to eat and wait to die. What was there to worry about? Even if he secretly helps her cheat, it won't cause any harm. Du Zheng's expression softened slightly. Although he and Yingluo were brothers and sisters, their age gap was very large, more than 1 year old. To him, Yingluo is more like a junior who has grown up under his watch, and he cannot treat her badly. His men went to work. Xia Yingluo didn't know anything about this. She didn't even know that Jin Ling'er had been to the set. She has been extremely depressed these past few days. Why is everything going wrong? She seriously considered whether to burn incense and pray to Buddha or something, to change things for the better, or to do some good deeds, like helping an old lady cross the road. Before Xia Yingluo could take action, her fortune actually turned into something unexpected and good. That's it for the evening update. The next update will be at 8 AM tomorrow. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1218. Chapter 1218 Feeling Proud. There is news that Zhang Bilian offended the female lead Yang Menqi in the crew and was removed. The crew still hopes to use her as Xia Yingluo, saying that she is more professional and has better acting skills. Xia Yingluo smiled with her eyebrows arched, which was the rhythm of being proud and proud. In the past few days, whether she was in class or going to the cafeteria to eat, she had had enough of the cynicism from Zhang Bilian's supporters. Now she can finally ridicule her back. Why shouldn't she be happy? Ha ha ha, this is called the change of fortune, she laughed and said to Jin Ling'er on the way to the cafeteria for dinner. Jin Ling'er was also very happy. I'm mad at them. She didn't know if this was a coincidence, or if her last visit to the set to beg Du Zheng had an effect. However, these are not important anymore. What is important is that our good sisters finally got what they wanted, slapped their competitors in the face, and took back what should be theirs. As for Du Zheng, they didn't exchange contact information last time. Regardless of whether he interfered in the matter or not, she couldn't thank him. What's the big deal? When she goes to the temple to burn incense, she can also pray for him to be a good person and have a safe life. So, Mr. Du, the dream lover of thousands of girls, was issued a good guy card. Xia Yingluo held hands with her and was a little confused as they walked. It's strange, Zhang Bilian is not a reckless person, how could she offend a leading actress in such a good way? Hearing this, Jin Ling'er was very gloating. Haha Yingluo, haven't you heard yet? Zhang Bilian deserves to be unlucky. He accidentally sat on the chair of the female lead Yang Menqi. You know that after joining the group, there is a clear distinction between superiority and inferiority, and it is very taboo for young actors to sit in important positions. Yang Menqi was furious on the spot and threatened to quit the show if she was not replaced. How big of a celebrity is Yang Menqi? How difficult is it to serve? The crew must take care of her, so they can only tell Zhang Bilian to get out. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Xia Yingluo was also amused, just because of this trivial matter. The corners of her beautifully shaped lips curled up slightly. It was true that evil people will be punished by evil people. The two were chatting and laughing all the way, but before they reached the door of the cafeteria, someone suddenly called from behind, Xia Yingluo. Xia Yingluo and Jin Ling'er turned around and saw the dean of students rushing over. This is the script of the play. He handed a stack of stapled printing paper to Xia Yingluo. Take a good look at the role of the female killer, and join the cast starting tomorrow. Xia Yingluo did not reach out to pick it up. I won't take the photo. Huh, you don't want to take pictures. What, you didn't take a picture? Jin Linger and the dean said in unison, both extremely surprised. Xia Yingluo raised her chin proudly, what do they think of me? If they want to use me, they can use me. If they don't want to use me, just kick me away. You want me to go back after you regret the summons. I don't want to serve you anymore, love so and so. The dean was also so angry that he was hurt internally. This girl has not even debuted yet, but she has a bigger temper than many big stars. How can you not take pictures? Do you know what a great opportunity this is? I know you were wronged some time ago, but in the entertainment industry, it is normal to feel wronged. You can't bear the hardship like this. You will debut in the future. What to do? You can do whatever you want with love. Xia Yingluo really got angry. I won't accept this drama anyway. If they come to bother me again, believe it or not, I will really find a killer to kill them. Do you think you are the eldest lady? The dean said. If you don't take the photo, the camp will not give you a spot if you have such a photo opportunity in the future, and your behavior this time will also be recorded. Black history, points will be deducted in the final exam, and the priority rating of resource use will be reduced. Do you accept these consequences? Accept. Xia Yingluo didn't care. As long as she had something to eat and a place to sleep, she didn't care whether she could debut, become famous, or get first place in the exam. Jin Linger, on the other hand, was extremely anxious and hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Director, don't be angry. Yingluo is not sensible. I will persuade her later. Don't reject the crew yet. Yingluo will definitely go to the filming when she figures it out. The dean glared at them. Do you think this is children's playhouse? Saving a scene is like putting out a fire. If Xia Yingluo doesn't agree to the filming, I will reject them now without delaying their progress. You can do it yourself. He waved his hand and left. Jin Linger was so angry that she said to Xia Yingluo, Yingluo, why are you so stubborn? You don't want the opportunity that you finally got. You are really mad at me. I don't want it, Xia Yingluo said, it's troublesome. Jin Linger jumped up and down anxiously, trying to persuade her until her mouth was dry and her tongue was thirsty, but she had no intention of wavering. Forget it, it doesn't matter to you. Jin Linger was also angry. It's your own business if you can't become famous or make money in the future. Seeing that she was really angry, Xia Yingluo playfully persuaded her, okay, calm down. You know that I haven't been in good health recently, and I often have inexplicable pains here and there. Do you think I don't want to go filming? It was uncomfortable, and it was hard to tell the dean directly. What if he wanted me to drop out? You know there is a precedent for those with poor health to drop out in the training camp, so I had to make up a reason to lie to him. Really? Jin Linger was doubtful. Yes, Xia Yingluo nodded sincerely. Jin Linger then became worried. Yingluo, are you okay? The last time you had an attack of pain, it scared me to death. I haven't seen you have an attack during this period. I thought you were fine, but it turns out you are still very sick. Does it hurt? It hurts when you're tired, but if you're not tired, you'll be fine. Xia Yingluo made random remarks, but the general idea was that she'd be fine if she didn't film. Jin Linger felt relieved now and no longer tried to persuade her to go filming. Received a strange call at night. Jin Linger was halfway done with the facial mask, wearing pajamas, and reluctantly picked it up. Who is it? She muttered in a low voice. I don't know what's going on. In the middle of the night she turned her head and glanced in the direction of the bathroom door. Xia Yingluo was taking a bath inside, and the sound of rushing water could be heard. So, she went to the balcony holding the phone. Hello, she said. Golden Linger. On the other end of the phone was a strange man's voice, which sounded very clean and slightly magnetic. Jin Linger frowned. Who are you? Du Zheng said the other end of the phone. Jin Ling-er was stunned for a moment, and the tall man as tall as a bamboo that she met by chance in the film and television city that day appeared in front of her eyes. How could he have her number? With that in mind, I asked. It's easy to check. The man on the other end of the phone didn't say much. He just asked, the director told me that Xia Yingluo is unwilling to take that role. Why? Jin Ling-er was a little confused. Could it be that the sudden change of role was really the result of his intervention? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1219. Chapter 1219 Wine in Wei Lingnan. She asked him cautiously, Mr. Du, did you design Zhang Bilian to get out? On the other end of the phone, Du Zheng did not answer directly, only said, Zhang Bilian didn't understand the rules, which made Meng Qi very angry, which affected the shooting state and delayed the progress. I don't like this very much, so I asked the director to follow the rules. Those who entered the crew through illegal means are removed and replaced with those who were actually selected by the audition. So, the director came to invite Xia Yingluo with great trepidation. Unexpectedly, I was rejected. So that's it, Jin Ling-er sighed. Yingluo refused to take this role no matter what. Du Zheng asked, is she having a temper? He knew that this little girl had a very bad temper and would not care if she was willful. Jin Ling-er misunderstood what he meant and said with some panic, Mr. Du, don't be angry. Yingluo doesn't know that you have troubled yourself about this matter, otherwise she wouldn't dare to refuse the photo even if I borrowed her courage. Then, is there any room for change? Du Zheng asked. Ever since Yingluo left home, Xiao Hui and the others have missed her, but due to the rules they couldn't contact her directly. If she could be filmed in a film that Du Zheng participated in, Du Zheng could take care of her secretly, which would also take care of her brother's thoughts. Jin Ling-er became even more frightened, Mr. Du, Yingluo really can't participate in the filming. Let me tell you something. You must first promise me not to tell anyone. After receiving Du Zheng's guarantee, she said, Yingluo hasn't been feeling well lately. Her whole body aches when she's tired. She needs to rest. That's why she can't film. It's really not because she has any objections to the crew. After saying this, Du Zheng was stunned. Is she sick? I don't know what kind of strange disease it is. Jin Ling-er frowned slightly. I couldn't find it out even if I went to the hospital. I almost fainted from the pain once. Mr. Du, please don't tell anyone. If word gets out, maybe the training camp will dismiss her because she's sick, so what will she do in the future? I won't tell, Du Zheng said, but his brows also wrinkled. That little girl had always been healthy, so why did she suddenly become ill? It couldn't be some kind of trick, it was indeed something Xia Yingluo could do. But what if you are really sick? It's still a strange disease that even the hospital can't detect. No, we cannot sit idly by. Du Zheng made up his mind in just a moment and said to Jin Ling-er, since she can't take that role, and it's difficult to find a suitable actor in a short time, why don't you replace her? Me, Jin Ling-er felt dizzy as if she had been hit by a pie falling from the sky. Can I do it? She was not a top student, and her performance in the acting class was only average. If she goes to audition, she won't be able to take the lead. Mr. Du, why don't you choose from the other auditionees? Du Zheng said, others have schedule conflicts. In fact, the female killer was just a small role, and the actors who came to audition were not famous. It only took a few days from the audition to the start of filming. It was impossible for these actors, the schedule fills up so quickly. He was just making random remarks to fool Jin Ling-er. Jin Ling-er was so shocked by the huge surprise that she believed it without much thought. Okay, As long as you don't dislike me, Mr. Du, I will definitely come to shoot, thank you. At this moment, she felt Du Zheng is really a good person, and he has long forgotten the last time he collided with him in the film and television city. Happily she hung up the phone, rushed back to the dormitory, and told Xia Yingluo the good news. Xia Yingluo had just come out of the bathroom after taking a shower. Her soft body was wrapped in a light cherry blossom-colored bath towel. Water was dripping from her long, wet crow-green hair. Drops of crystal water fell on her jade-white skin. She was so beautiful. Mesmerizing. She was very happy for Jin Ling, wiping her hair and smiling, "Come on, take good pictures." He was a little puzzled again. Why did the crew come to you? Jin Ling couldn't hide it, so she told the story about how she went to the set a few days ago to fight against the injustice and met Du Zheng. Hearing Du Zheng's name, Xia Yingluo's hand wiping her hair paused slightly. That Du Zheng from Du's culture? Did you tell him that my name is Xia Yingluo? Yeah, I even showed him your photo. It's over, it's been recognized. No wonder the crew's attitude towards them has changed so much. It must be the Du family brother who is secretly up to something. If she were offered this role, she would definitely reject it, but now that it was given to Jin Ling, she couldn't jeopardize her friend's future just because of the rules of experience. I can only turn a blind eye. Since Du Zheng pretended not to care about her, then she should pretend not to know about it. After a few more words of encouragement to Jin Ling, she climbed into bed and went to sleep. Jin Ling packed up her things and joined the group the next day, and she was the only one left in the huge dormitory. Xia Yingluo didn't make many friends in the training camp. Jin Ling was not here at this time, and Zhang Bilian's gang regarded her as a thorn in their flesh. They targeted her everywhere she went. She was actually a little lonely. After receiving a call from Wei Lingnan, reminding her that her weekly date was coming, she set out to go. The place she went to this time was the villa he gave her. The tall figure of the man stood in a building full of surreal science fiction style, unexpectedly harmonious. He was making a cocktail in front of the streamlined silver-gray bar, and various wine bottles and mixing sticks were skillfully flying in his hands, which was pleasing to the eye. Xia Yingluo held her chin and looked at him for a while. "Am I good looking?" he asked, pushing a glass of mixed wine in front of her. Yeah, she took it and shook the crystal glass. The man in front of her was obviously a dangerous person, but for some reason, she seemed to be gradually getting used to having him by her side. Take a small sip of the wine in the glass. The slightest hint of bitterness mixed with the fishy sweetness spreads, giving a strange sweet-bitter flavor. "What kind of wine is this?" she asked. "Wine to celebrate victory," he said. "I only have the recipe, and I can't find many raw materials, so I had to try some substitutes and dissolve the antidote given to you. The taste is a little different from the original." Xia Yingluo didn't know what the original taste was. She just thought the wine was good and took another sip. Wei Lingnan said, "Congratulations to you." Xia Yingluo asked, "What do you congratulate me for?" "Congratulations on successfully disgusting Zhang Bilian once again and making her character fly away. You know about this." "I know everything about you." Xia Yingluo raised her eyes and looked at him. "First of all, I didn't make Zhang Bilian's character fly. She committed suicide by herself and offended Yang Menqi. Secondly, are you spying on me? Why don't you let me go, no matter how big or small?" Wei Lingnan lowered his eyes and mixed himself a glass of wine. "I am always concerned about your affairs." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 1220. Chapter 1220 French Dress. "I don't need your concern." Xia Yingluo's tone was slightly cold, and it always felt bad to be spied on. Wei Lingnan seemed to not want to quarrel with her, so he changed the subject. "Do you know? This is wine from my hometown. Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment, lowered her head, and looked at the goblet in her hand. The glistening liquid rippled gently in the cup, filling it like a dream. Home. It was a noun that was too far away, so far away that she felt a little disappointed. It's really strange, why do you feel so sour in your heart? Her hometown is obviously the beautiful island where the Li family's overseas headquarters is, one of the most powerful forces in the world. She is proud of it, but she doesn't feel any nostalgia. But the feeling in her heart is that there is still a place somewhere in this world, a place she has left for a long time, so long that she can no longer remember it, but she still misses it, her hometown. Wei Lingnan's voice came in a low voice, it is beautiful. Although it is barren, it has given birth to the most powerful race in the universe. Its wasteland is endless, with deep purple ground cracked with abyss, but occasionally, there will be cracks on the cliffs. Small flowers grew, white scatena flowers, from which the warriors made wine and healed their wounds. Xia Yingluo was a little fascinated when she heard this, does such a place really exist? Wei Lingnan picked up his wine glass and clinked it with her, scatena can fly. Unlike the Earth or other planets that follow a fixed trajectory, the trajectory of scatena is unpredictable and fascinating. Even people living in the tribesmen among them don't know where it will fly to, and the only one who knows its secret is the queen. Queen, Xia Yingluo asked. The queen can sense the will of the planet and is the most noble existence on the entire planet, Wei Lingnan said. All the scatena people live for the queen and die for the queen. As he spoke, his lips Jiao suddenly showed a strange smile, only I am different, I was born for a Luo. Xia Yingluo drank too much and felt a little dizzy. She wanted to tell him that aliens did not exist, that neither planet Scatena nor the queen existed, but when she opened her mouth, she said, "This story is so good, why don't you become a screenwriter? Tell me about your planet and queen." He was silent. She was feeling dizzy, her brain was working slower and slower, and she finally couldn't hold on to the strike. Lying softly on the silver-gray streamlined bar, when her eyelids closed, a voice as soft as a sigh sounded in her ears, "She is beautiful." Xia Yingluo had a very long dream. In her dream, she came to a purple planet, full of dry wasteland, half human, half monster warriors, and scattered small white flowers blooming in orange-purple flames. She saw the light figure of a little girl, which disappeared in a flash. She couldn't help but pursue it. Suddenly, the mist came and the flowers dispersed. When I woke up, the morning light was faint. Hangover, splitting headache. A man was sleeping on the other side of the double bed, with his arms firmly around her waist. She struggled a bit, but couldn't. She couldn't help but feel a little angry. Wei Lingnan, get up, why was he sleeping next to her? Fortunately, both of them were still neatly dressed and nothing untoward happened. Wei Lingnan slowly opened his eyes and looked at her, "Did you sleep well last night?" She was very angry, "Who allowed you to sleep next to me?" But he seemed not to have heard, "Did you dream?" Xia Yingluo glared at him, "Can you care?" She pushed his arm away angrily, jumped out of bed, changed her clothes and left. Wei Lingnan remained lying on his side and looked at the direction she left for a long time. Xia Yingluo went all the way back to the training camp, telling herself that she had forgotten the stories and dreams from last night. Wei Lingnan is this weird lunatic who can make up any story when he is drunk. A flying planet. Queen. She also has avatar and alien. Go to class and practice as usual. At noon, Jin Ling who was dressed in sunshine, rushed back in a hurry, "Yingluo, Yingluo. I haven't seen you for a few days. Do you miss me?" As he said this, he gave her a big hug. Xia Yingluo also hugged her and smiled, "Is the filming finished? All the strange things last night were forgotten?" Jin Ling said, "The film hasn't been finished yet, but my part is over, and the director praised me for doing a good job. I'm so happy, ha ha ha." Sister Chi also likes me very much and said that we will work together again if we have the opportunity in the future. Wow, a star as big as Sister Chi actually said that she wants to continue working with me. It's like a dream, she laughed and danced. As a little-known trainee, it is amazing that she can be favored by a popular celebrity. Something very exciting. Xia Yingluo was also happy for her, it's really gratifying. Jin Linger pulled her, let's go shopping, let's celebrate. The way girls celebrate happy events is usually very simple. They just eat, drink, and go shopping. Xia Yingluo didn't refuse. She was pulled out of the training camp and went straight to one of the most prosperous shopping malls in the city. The two girls first picked out a few clothes in an ordinary specialty store. Jinling Er and Rasha Yingluo said, Yingluo, let's go upstairs and have a look. I have never been to those high-end specialty stores. I saw Sister Chi before. The bracelet I'm wearing is really nice. I heard I bought it on the 7th floor of this mall. Xia Yingluo didn't care and waved the card Wei Lingnan gave her in her hand, whatever you like, my sister will give it to you. Really? Wow. Yingluo, you are so kind, Jin Linger hugged her and kissed her hard. Xia Yingluo smiled viciously, just swipe it. In fact, she wished she could just swipe her credit card to buy the entire shopping mall, and the best one was Qian Wei Lingnan. How dare you get her drunk and sleep in the same bed? Is it itchy? Jin Linger was indeed not polite and took her to visit one high-end specialty store after another. When she walked into a boutique clothing store, Jin Linger's eyes lit up. Yingluo, come and take a look, this dress suits you, she said while pointing to a pearl white silk dress. The colors, styles, and materials are all very attractive, and only someone like Xia Yingluo, with fair skin, beautiful breasts, a big waist and a slender waist, can handle it. The clerk greeted them with a smile, you two have good eyesight. This is the new style of the season, a work by a famous French designer. Jin Linger encouraged Xia Yingluo, Yingluo, would you like to try it on? You are so beautiful, it will look good on you. Don't always wear discounted products from the store at the school entrance. I feel aggrieved for you. Xia Yingluo also thought the clothes were pretty. Just when she was about to try them on, she heard the voices of two women talking and laughing behind her, which sounded familiar to her. She turned around and found that they were enemies on a narrow road. It was Pei Yan and Gu Jingxiu who walked in hand. Seeing how close and familiar they were, could they be friends? Recommend to my friends an ancient book called The Wife of the Family. Introduction, she accidentally traveled to ancient times and became a concubine of a high family. However, her aunt treats her as a treasure, her biological mother is gentle and virtuous, and her biological father is a daughter-in-law. This is completely the heroine's script. But before he could be proud for long, vicious female supporting characters appeared one after another. Marriages have been disrupted one after another. How about that cold-faced son of a prince? Don't talk about a woman who only has one father. I am really not the woman you were in your previous life. Time-traveling female PK reborn male. End of this chapter.